Liquefied petroleum gas demand in Nigeria is estimated at 5 million tons, but certain concerns must be addressed to realize this potential. That's according to the president of Nigeria Gas Association, Mr. Nuhu Yakubu. Explaining how to evolve the demand side of the nation's natural gas deposits at a meeting, he identifies availability, acceptability, and affordability as three key strategic areas of focus.
Rather than produce gas in Bonny, ship it down to Lagos, and then from Lagos, again, you're redistributing back to the southeast, south, or the northern regions. Why shouldn't we consider producing LPG in other inland facilities? That will help. Food for thought. And then all these issues, as we've been engaging the industry, engaging government, at the NLPGA level, which has a membership of both government and the private sector, gave rise to the need for a clear strategy to be developed, to see how a policy framework can be developed to help push LPG to the next level. The idea is to push LPG from 500, 600,000 metric tons current demand to, say, 5 million tons demand market. We think Nigeria is at least a 5 million tons demand market. If you aggregate the kerosene consumption plus firewood and all other dirty fuels that are in use, you find that 5 million tons is still a modest target demand. And government bought into this and thought, they like big numbers. When you say you can evolve a $10 billion industry, they say, what's that? Can we hear more about that? So we sort of found them listening to us when we dropped the big numbers, like $10 billion industry can be evolved from LPG through the forward linkage and backward linkage industries, that can enjoy the fair and good application of LPG. So the strategies to evolve a 5 million tons demand market, cum $10 billion industry, informs the how question. We thought we should address availability, accessibility, and then affordability. Like I said earlier, LPG is largely supplied into the Nigerian market today by the NLNG, and it is priced in US dollars. It's priced in Mont Belvieu. So whenever it is winter, LPG price in Nigeria rises. I'm sure some of you know today that LPG price is on the upper swing. Some places in Nigeria today, they sell a 12.5 kg cylinder for over 5,000 naira. Should it necessarily be like that? Because again, there's been a monopolistic approach to the supply side. The refineries hardly work. I wouldn't even trade LPGs from the refineries in my plants because they are largely off-spec. So we'll probably just take them to industries that will burn them as for whatever industrial purpose. And then acceptability, starting from Iran now. The Nigerians have to accept LPG as a viable domestic fuel. I mean, let's even talk the domestics alone. There are still homes in Lagos today that landlords will not allow tenants to use LPG in their homes. It's a problem. When you signing your tenancy agreement, they'll tell you, no LPG, we don't want LPG in this house. No gas, kerosene or nothing. So these are cultural issues that need to be surmounted. Then accessibility. So even if you deal with the issues of affordability, acceptability, then you're confronted with access. How do the common Nigerians access gas? Because by its very nature, it's not like petrol or kerosene can just take a keg and go fetch somewhere and then take it to the next home. So, and yet, we need to build out as much retail infrastructure to allow access of the common man and our mothers and our sisters to appreciate the benefits of LPG as a better fuel over the other dirty fuels that are used to kerosene and firewood. It informs why then the skid plant models now evolved, where we can now co-locate LPG retail facilities in existing petrol stations so that it allows for access of communities around those stations, gas. And also, at the same time, promoting auto gas. Why is it that Nigeria, that largely produces enough petrol from its refineries, is not looking at LPG as a very viable alternative automotive fuel? We are a net exporter of LPG. Nigeria produces in excess of 4 million tons for exports per annum. 3.5 to 4 million tons varies. And our local consumption is around about 500,000 metric tons, like I said. So all that LPG that is produced locally can actually be channeled to displace imported petrol and apply downward pressure on the naira-dollar exchange. The reason why the dollar continues to be in very high demand, we all know that it is driven largely by petroleum products importation. Other than petroleum products, what is the other single larger demand factor driving the exchange rate mix for naira and the US dollars? So accessibility also informs the issues of how do you receive this LPG. Let's even begin to think well about how you produce the LPG. Coastal terminals, inland producing facilities. We have had cause to discuss with Festi and PA a few times on how to access some of their facilities. I mean, there are so many other producers in here who have need for, we have some LPGs here and there, but what do we do with it? So there's still a lot of LPG flare. And then availability, like I said. But again, since last year, like I said, the policy has been on with the federal government, and we thought now that we've gotten them to start listening, we need to then do something else very quickly. We needed to get the government's full buy-in, and we insisted that the person in the capacity of the vice president has to be the champion. Because if he's not championing himself, then it may be difficult to get the other ministries that are involved to fully key in. So that was quite pivotal to our strategic approach to driving the policy. Having said all this, the policy has been approved by Federal Executive Council, and the country manager has been appointed from amongst us, so which makes it easier for us to drive the policy as we want it. And now is at implementation. But again, government has gone to sleep and leaving everything again to the private sector. But we haven't gone to sleep in the private sector, so what we keep doing is we keep working at what we should be doing to galvanize the private sector investment to drive LPG demand. Because with demand comes the volumes, and the volumes comes profits. So when we say cost-reflective tariff, I've learned today it shouldn't be cost-reflective tariff, it should be profit-reflective. The only reason why we're in business is to make profits. It speaks to the forward linkage businesses, like I said, for LPG. Domestic applications, industrial application, power sector. We have been in the forefront of discussion in NERC for LPG to be considered as a viable fuel for power generation. Engineer Lloyd Duru there sitting, and I have been on this for over 10 years, since the times of Bat Energy. How do you accept LPG as a viable fuel? You have natural gas transportation issues or availability issues, and yet you have LPG in abundant supply. How do you apply it? But it turns out that NERC does not have LPG reflected in its mine-to tariff. How do you then capture LPG in the mine-to tariff so that it is acceptable as a vibe? Oh, it's too expensive. Per MMBTU, LPG translates to maybe $12, $11, $10, who knows? Depends on who's producing what.